We bring in John Lynch, the former All-Pro safety, and caught my attention with an article, NFL must admit that the rules have changed, and John talking about the bounties and also the way guys tackle. So John joins us now. John, you seemed all fired up with this.
I was, DP.
Are you still?
Yeah, no, I've calmed down a little bit.
Did you hear from the commissioner?
No, I haven't heard from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what were you trying to say, given the fact the way you played, that it was okay to play one way, and then all of a sudden 1 year it changed?
Yeah, and I think my point, and I have communicated this to Commissioner Goodell, is that, listen, I understand what you're doing, and I really believe that he's a genuine guy that really does care about players. I think more so than players had experienced in the past. But I think he was always hesitant to admit that, hey, we are calling things differently. Instead, the league would constantly tell players, we haven't changed anything. We're just calling what we've always called, and that's not the truth. Anybody who watches the game sees that things are being called differently, but they have different information than they've had in the past, and that was really the crux of my point, and I think they're starting to talk like that out of the league office.
I know what you mean when you watch old highlights, and I can even go back to the early 90s and even mid-90s and go, what you got away with then, you could never get away with now.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not just watching it. I lived it. I came in 1993, and then there were things that there's no way would be allowed now. I mean, guys were hitting, when they talk about with the crown of their helmet, I mean, we're talking the top of their helmet, and it wasn't even thought of as dirty. That was part of the game. They took that out of the league, and it continued to progress to the point where it is now, and I don't necessarily like all these fines. I think there's better ways. I wish they'd just be harsher when they did have a problem. And I think it's obvious to everybody when there's something very egregious, and I think with cases like that, you suspend a player. I think all these fines each and every week that are out, 5 and 10 here, kind of look like a police blotter, and fans start thinking that guys are really out. They start really believing things like this bounty system because they believe that's what goes on each and every week.
I'll get to that in a moment. Here's my concern about the NFL as we move forward. We have put in place different rules, and just about all of them benefit the offense. This is a league that's predicated on playing tough, offensively, defensively, and I think that we've neutered the defenses. And I think what you force the defenses to do is, I'm going to blow you up. I'm going to hit you. That is my only recourse here. If you don't let me hold you, touch you 5 yards down the line, and if I going after the quarterback, I got to make sure I stop, or I can't go up to the head. Even with offensive linemen, you still get to cut me. It's got to be a frustrating time for defensive players.
Yeah, it is. But I think we saw in these playoffs the way you counter that, and that's pressure up front. That's what the Giants have done better than anybody, is create that pressure up front. And for all the offensive rules that lead to explosive offense, and the people like myself thinking the days of a dominating defense are probably gone, or we're going to have to redefine what a dominating defense is, you have a group like the Giants come out, and I don't care how good the quarterbacks are, how much the rules are in favor of the offense, when you can hit the quarterback constantly, you've got an opportunity to disrupt that. And so I think that's the name of the game. I think the old Ernie Accorsi, the old Giants GM, said it best. You got to draft that franchise quarterback, and then you got to draft the guys to knock them down. That's the formula in today's football. Yeah.
He's John Lynch from Fox, former All-Pro safety, joining us to the Dan Patrick Show. If I paid you $10,000 to take out a quarterback, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I think the fact that someone was paying me, the team's already paying me, and so that's kind of my thought on that whole process.
But could I give you money?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the mindset of the defensive player. If I give you 15, if I give you $2,000, how do you then do something different to make sure you're taking that quarterback out?
Yeah, I don't think you are, and I think that's the other thing that irked me, is that a lot of these Saints players were kind of admitted, hey, right after the fact, former players came out and said, yeah, we were doing it, but so was everybody. And, I got to be perfectly honest. I played 15 years and 2 different teams, really 3. I played for the Patriots at the end before I decided to lay it down, and I never heard of that. I really never did hear of that in my entire career, from a coach, from a player, from anything. I had plenty of players offer big money for big plays, including big hits, but never about, you take this guy out of the game, you hurt this player, and you're going to be rewarded financially for it. That just didn't exist. Well,
they call it bounties, but you can also get around it by saying incentives. That Brian Billick said with the Ravens, these guys would be throwing money in, hey, first interception or fumble or sack or those kind of things. At what point? But look, if you say to the Saints, you can get to the Super Bowl if you take out Brett Favre. I'll pay your fine if you take him out. I can understand the logic with this, and you can't tell me watching that Saints game, the McCray hit was a cheap shot, and it looked like he went there on purpose with the purpose of taking Favre out of the game.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason Greg Williams continued to do it. It looks like, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn till all the facts have come out, but it looks like he did this in a number of places. A large part of the reason is it worked, and I think as much of it is creating an attitude in that defensive room. Togetherness, and I just think it's there's no place for it. The means that he went to try to get that accomplished, and I think it was unnecessary. I think guys should be out there trying to inflict pain upon the other team, trying to make them hurt. But that's different than trying to hurt someone, to try to put someone on a cart. And you ought to be playing hard. I was taught early on in my career that you let, as a safety, you let people know that if they're going to come in their area, they're going to pay for it, and the next time they won't be so cavalier about coming in that zone, and that's a big part of the game. But never were you saying, I'm going to knock this guy out, I'm going to try to hurt him, I'm going to try to put him on a cart.
Tim Tebow Mania, Broncos interest in Peyton Manning. Let's just, you played there. Mm-hmm. I think Manning would be the only guy who could say to the Tebow fan base, I'm going to let him learn from me, guys. So, let me move in here. I'm going to help this team go to the next level. The probability of Peyton Manning playing in Denver is what?
Well, I don't think that likely. I think the team's going to have some definite interest. I really do. I think you just look at the top of the team right now, and I guess that would be Pat Bowlen, but right below him is John Elway. He's running the football operations, and it's very clear one thing, and this is from spending time with John. He said it publicly. He's not in here to get to the Final Eight. He's trying to win a championship. He doesn't know how long it's going to take him. And he believes in his heart that you got to have a franchise quarterback to do that. And, I think the problem they may run into is that they're building something here, and they really improved last year. But there's still some holes in this roster. I don't think it's a team ready to compete. And I know Peyton, and Peyton's as prepared as everyone. And, I thought he handled this entire thing with class, but I think there was never more of a BS statement when he sit there saying, I haven't even thought about where I'm going. This guy has been plotting it out since this thing ever began. I think all last year when he was hurt, he's sitting there thinking, all right,
John,
this team's got offensive line.
I said the same thing. Yeah. I said nobody micromanages more than Peyton Manning in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden his future, and he's going to go, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah, I was sitting at home saying, you did so good. You handled this thing so well, and then you just had to put that nonsense out there.
If you're John Elway,
mm-hmm.
and you had the chance, do you bring in Peyton Manning?
I think I do, and I'm one of the few people that believe that, or I'm somewhat excited about this. Not few people, because fans are all over are crazy, but I think after the season, a lot of people looked at this Tebow thing and said, wow, after what we just saw in the playoffs, this is not the direction we need to go. But I'm kind of excited about that project, and I even think that would be good for Tebow to sit there with Peyton, learn from the best on how to prepare. And, I think Peyton brings so much to a team, and that's, a chance every year to win the entire thing. And also with that guy, with his work ethic, with the ability, with the way that he goes about his job, he affects an entire team in a positive way.
Good to visit with you, John. Keep stirring it up.
All right, buddy.
That's John Lynch, former All-Pro safety. Played with Denver, certainly played with Tampa Bay Buccaneers.